Good afternoon and thank you for making time to be with us on KTN Newsdesk, where we bring you news as it happens. My name is Edith Kimani. Let's have a look at the top stories this afternoon. An unusual charge sheet. Suspects arrested in connection with Laconia shooting charged with being idle. Also in this bulletin, on the brink, the future of Lake Turkana is in the balance as both Kenyan and Ethiopian governments push for a dam project. We'll also be telling you about the mystery of the decade. Malaysian government says missing flight MH370 lost in the Indian Ocean with no survivors. Welcome to the program. Baby Satrin Osinyo, who was left with a bullet lodged in his head following the Laconia church attack, landed in Nairobi an hour ago for specialized treatment. The 1.5-year-old baby is accompanied by his father and aunt and was transferred from Mombasa Hospital this morning and will be receiving specialized treatment at the Kenyatta Hospital under the care of the renowned chief neurosurgeon, Dr. Peter Wanyoike. The baby will have his medical expenses paid by the national government and the county government of Mombasa. His mother died as she tried to shield him from gunmen. One of the bullets that killed her exited her body and lodged itself in baby Osinyo's head. 6 people died from the Laconia church attack after hooded gunmen sprayed bullets at worshippers on Sunday morning.
We have sent the CT scan results to the neurosurgeons in Kenyatta National Hospital, and they've agreed that the baby can be flown to Kenyatta because the facility at Kenyatta National Hospital is better than any hospital in Mombasa.
Tumeweza kumtoa mtoto yule kutoka Mombasa Hospital, amefanyiwa transfer na madaktari wa Amref, anapelekwa Kenyatta National Hospital ili ile bullet ambayo iko lodged katika brain iweze kufanyiwa special monitoring for a period of about 3 weeks wakati madaktari wanavyoamua ni matibabu ya aina gani ambao wataenda kumpatia.
We'll definitely be on that case and bring you up to speed on any developments on baby Osinyo as and when they do happen. But still on the Laconia church attack, 49 suspects arrested after the shooting in the church on Sunday have been arraigned in court. The suspects were charged with being found idle and for being disorderly in a public place. The 49 were among 100 suspects who were arrested on Monday evening in Laconia's Majengo Mpya area. They were fined 1,000 shillings each or a 2-month jail term. The 49 had been arrested after unknown gunmen stormed a church in Laconia, killing 6 people in the congregation and injuring a dozen others. Back to the capital city of Nairobi, students at the St. Joseph's Education Center in Nairobi's Kariobangi South were injured after tear gas canister exploded in the school compound this morning. It is still unclear why the tear gas canister was in the school, but more than 20 students who had fainted after inhaling the tear gas fumes were rushed to a nearby hospital in Kasarani. The police rushed to the scene, took away the canister and tried to calm down the traumatized learners. The school was closed indefinitely as parents and neighbors expressed their concerns over the children's safety.
It was during manual work, and the students were doing manual work as usual when one boy suddenly came across that tear gas canister. Then on realizing that it was not part of those takataka, he threw it down, and in the process it hit a stone and it burst.
Niliona moshi ilikuwa inatoka hivi, sikuwa najua ni nini. Venye chaka tuambia twende tukimbie huko juu hiyo moshi ilikuwa tear gas. Hiyo saa tulikuwa tunawashwa macho, tulikuwa tunajua venye tunaweza fanya.
Hapa kuna mambo ya terrorism. Hao maboys wetu. Unaona? Hapa hakuna mambo ya polisi. Unaona? Ni kitu tunasema tu kweli. Sana kama kuna maboys walikuwa wameenda kucheza michezo zao, wakuja na mapoda hizo zao, waseme tu poa.
The government should brace for an industrial dispute with the Kenya National Union of Teachers come the end of this month. Now, NAT says they will not take it lightly if their demand that the Teacher Service Commission commences employment of early childhood education teachers is ignored. Here's the Union Secretary General Wilson Sosion, who was speaking to KTN this morning.
If TSC advertises today for the commencement of the registration process in this country, it will go on. But Teacher Service Commission is silent and is sitting pretty. We do not understand what is happening at the Teacher Service Commission. But then when we talk with the Teacher Service Commission, yes, they admit it is a job to do it, and they intend to do it. And they've given budgetary requisition to the Treasury. And we have confirmed Teacher Service Commission have given budgetary request to the Treasury, which we think it has good intention. We shall not allow illegal practice of teaching and flagrant abuse of sectoral laws. We shall not. The law is clear. Anybody offering teaching service, whether in private schools or in public schools as deployed by the Teacher Service Commission, must be registered and must meet the threshold of law. We firmly support the position of the law and the Constitution to ensure lawful quality delivery of the teaching service. Further, we submit that should the above anomalies remain unattended within the next 60 days, as above required, teachers will have no choice but to escalate this matter to a full-scale collective bargaining, collective dispute. On the expiry of the 29th March, the 60 days, we shall have no option but to table this matter before the National Executive Council. And we have consulted our legal team with a view of escalating it further. It shall not be ECDE alone. It will be tied with other issues surrounding employment of teachers.
Remember, Morning Express comes to you every morning on KTN from 6 to 9 a.m. Do start your day on the informed point of view. Just a day after a deal was signed for the biggest wind power project around Lake Turkana, activists are stepping up their campaign to oppose another power project that could endanger the lake. Campaigners warn that a hydropower plant being built all the way in Ethiopia could endanger the future of the lake. According to a study published by the University of Oxford, the fourth largest lake in Africa could drop by 20 meters, causing an ecological and human problem if Ethiopia goes ahead with the construction of the Gibe 3 dam. Ethiopia says the dam will boost development, increase power access to over 50% of Ethiopians, and also provide a key source of national revenue by exporting electricity in the region.
For investors, the winds of change are blowing in Turkana, with the latest signing of a deal to set up the largest wind power plant in Africa in Kenya's wild northwest. But while the winds of positive change blow on one side of the lake, the waves on the other bear not so good tidings. According to a study published by the University of Oxford, the fourth largest lake in Africa could drop by 20 meters if Ethiopia goes ahead with the construction of the Gibe 3 dam, which she says will boost development, increase power access to over 50% of Ethiopians, and provide a key source of national revenue by exporting electricity in the region, even to Kenya. But critics say Ethiopia must balance the benefits of the dam, which will be Africa's highest and 243 meters tall, with the environmental and social impact for some 500,000 people living downstream around Lake Turkana and who rely on the river for their livelihoods. Patrick Wambisa is one such person. A fisherman at Lake Turkana, he says his job has never been as hard as it is today, as fish stocks have decreased dramatically in recent years. He is worried that this is bound to get worse.
Wengi hawa watu wanategemea samaki, wanategemea kuvua, wanategemea mapato kutoka kwa ile lake. Na vile hapa area hii pia ni area dry. Mvua ni mara moja kwa mwaka. Sasa hii bahari ikikuisha inamaanisha kuwa life pia itakuisha kwa wale watu ambao wanakaa around the lake.
The Gibe 3 Dam in Ethiopia will limit the flow of the Omo River, which supplies 80% of Lake Turkana's water. It will be Africa's second largest dam and provide electricity to millions of people across East Africa who are currently without power. It is already over 50% complete.
Fishing patterns will be affected, and less fish means less food. Less food means starvation.
The World Bank has already pulled out of financing the dam after pressure from environmental groups, but a Chinese bank has stepped in to make up for the shortfall. The Kenyan government has agreed to buy power from the scheme despite opposition from local leaders. Sharon Mamanyi, KTN.
Kenya is expected to import around 300 megawatts of power from that project, never mind the risks that are imminent. And earlier, I did speak to a leading activist around Lake Turkana on why exactly they're opposed to the dam being built across the border. Here's a bit of what he said. What is the correlation between this dam in Ethiopia and Lake Turkana?
Well, basically, the construction of Gibe 3 Dam will be done on the source of the only river, which is the Omo River, which is the only permanent river feeding into Lake Turkana. That river is the main source of the water getting into Lake Turkana. So once people mess with it, the lifeline of the lake is equally messed around with.
All right, but I know initially you were saying it's fine, the Ethiopians can construct this dam so long as there's water flow into Lake Turkana.
That's right.
What changed?
We've got a number of fears that we are battling with. One, we thought it was wise that once the damming is done upstream, this water should be allowed to flow downstream so that communities like my own who are living on the lower stream will have access to this water.
Yeah.
But the stories that is doing runs right now is, this water has been diverted beside generating power to do all manner of activities like growing sugarcane and stuff like that.
All right, so let me just get this straight. What is your cause? What is your campaign? Are you saying stop the construction of the dam entirely or just open up the water flow from the Omo River into Lake Turkana?
All along, our first agenda was to stop this dam in the first place. But along the way, we realized that, we were fighting people with connections, people with money. And we said probably the next thing will be, yes, do the damming upstream if you can, but please just allow the water to flow downstream.
Yeah. How have your campaigns gone so far? How has that been received? Because I understand in Ethiopia, those who are against this dam cannot even speak out openly, let alone raise their concerns to government.
Our organization has done a number of several things. One, we've written articles about this dam. Two, we've raised a petition online. Three, we've actually raised this issue in our own parliament. Four, we're actually just saying this lake is our lifeline. Can somebody just allow this water to flow so that we'll not have problems?
All right, I'm glad you said lifeline because I think we jumped the gun. Why is it so important that the water keeps flowing to Lake Turkana? I know that there are figures which have been given, people saying over 500,000 people's livelihoods are going to be, affected or at risk, but you have a slightly bigger figure on the back of your card. You're saying 5 million indigenous people's lives are going to be affected.
Well, I must start by saying Lake Turkana is Africa's third biggest lake. It is the world's 26th biggest lake in the world. So you're talking of a water mass that is found in the middle of nowhere. It's a desert lake, all right? Communities like my own who are basically fishermen, who rely on this lake entirely for their survival, for their source of livelihood, will have no lifeline to support themselves. Number two, this water is very vital for both the animals and human beings and for the fish as well.
Of the 500,000 people whose lives will be affected, it is estimated that 200,000 of them are indigenous persons who are inhabitants of the Omo River. Elsewhere, 5 men who allegedly gang raped a 75-year-old grandmother in Mailikumi Bahati in Nakuru County have this morning been arraigned before a Nakuru court. George Moirore, Joseph Chege, Richard Kuria, George Geshaba, and Joseph Maina, who appeared before Chief Magistrate Samuel Mungai, were charged that on 18th February 2014, they gang raped the complainant at Mailikumi. The 5 also faced a second count of indecent act of touching the complainant's private parts. The accused, however, denied the charges and were released on a 200,000 shillings bond and a surety of the same amount. The case will be heard on 15th May and will be mentioned on 3rd April this year. We now take a short commercial break. When we come back, Mombasa, with all its woes that have been going on recently, the county of Mombasa has been selected for the IBM Smart Cities Challenge. We'll be telling you what that means for them in a short while and what it means for the entire country. Stay tuned. Welcome back to KTN Newsdesk. We're glad you're still watching. Let's now have a look at the business news and we begin where we left off. As promised, IBM Smart Cities and the county of Mombasa has been selected for the IBM Smart Cities Challenge 2014. What this means is that it will see experts from the global IT research firm seconded to the county to help solve problems like public transport and revenue generation and management.
The coastal city joins other cities across the world nominated for the grant that will seek to make it a destination of choice for both investments and residents. The challenge will see IBM experts help the county government of Mombasa address issues ranging from provision of clean water to residents, enhance healthcare services, promote revenue generation, and streamline its public transport sector, among others. According to IBM, a team of experts is expected to visit the coastal county by the end of the year to lay down strategies, beginning with revenue generation and management. County government head Ali Hassan Joho lauded the move, noting that it will go a long way in restoring the glory of the port city. In Africa, Mombasa has been nominated alongside Abuja from Nigeria and Durban in South Africa. Philip, KTN Newsdesk.
course, these stories are tremendously sad, but let's now look at another developing story on the continent where aid workers and health officials are still struggling to contain West Africa's first outbreak of the deadly Ebola virus. Now, tests on suspected cases in Conakry, Guinea have allayed fears that it had spread to the Guinean capital. At least 59 people have died in an outbreak of the virus raging through Guinea's southern forests, but tests on 3 hemorrhaging fever cases in Conakry, 2 of them fatal, were negative. The first analysis of the samples conducted by the Pasteur Institute in the French city of Lyon showed that cases in southern Guinea were due to the Ebola virus. To date, no treatment or vaccine is available for the pathogen, which kills between 25% and 90% of those who fall sick, depending on the strain of the virus, according to the WHO. A look at sports now, and soccer fans may soon find themselves using the Thika Municipal Stadium after renovations began on the facility following a ban by the Kenya Premier League Technical Committee. Following the ban, Thika United had been using the City Stadium as its home turf.
It is a rush against time as workers from Kiambu County begin rehabilitating the Thika Municipal Stadium months after it was rendered unfit for soccer matches. The sports facility, which is home to Thika United, had a bumpy surface. Players had complained that they were easily injured. Since the beginning of the season, the club has been using the City Stadium as their home ground, a move that has seen the club lose revenue.
But I am confident once the stadium is done, they will be moving back here so they can be able to be playing all the matches here.
The county will form a caretaker committee to oversee its use so as to avoid misuse and negligence. The renovation process will be done in 3 phases. Water reservoir tanks will also be installed to help in maintaining the pitch during dry seasons.
Once the renovation and the work is done, I'll be coming up with guidelines for how this stadium will be used. And one of the things that I'll say is that this stadium can only be used for sports and for nothing else but sports.
There will also be regular inspection so that it is not actually infected by the termites again, because mostly that was a major thing.
The cost of renovating has been shared between the county government and stakeholders. Victor Ogale, KTN Sports.